Welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit. Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart with our special guest this evening, Brimstone. And we were talking just before the last segment ended about really Brimstone's entrepreneurial business owner mindset. And so this is a show about entrepreneurism. Brimstone, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you did to build your career. Our audience is interested in learning how to build their own businesses, so maybe they could learn some lessons from you.
I mean, listen, I've been in business and in entertainment for many years, and one thing that is very important to remember is that entertainers are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs should be entertaining. I mean, that's the thing I like to say all the time, and it's very true. A lot of people think, well, you're in entertainment, you don't need to know business. You go have fun, go wrestle in a ring, or go play music, or write a book. It's not so hard. It's not so complicated. There's a whole big business that goes, you know what I mean, and surrounds every single one of the things we do. Multi-million-dollar businesses, as you just discussed, with WWE in music. You put out a hit song, you're talking billions of dollars. You know what I mean? That's involved in that. So you need to know a little bit of everything. You don't necessarily need to be an expert in everything, business, but you should know a little bit of everything, if not as much as humanly possible. So I've taken it upon myself, to really make sure that I know a lot about a lot. So this way, I never find myself backed into a corner, especially with my own brand, my own businesses. And again, in business in general, and I'm sure everybody that's here on the show today or listening at home who does have a business or has been an entrepreneur or been an entertainer or, they've had an issue where, they feel like they failed at something's happened. I wear those failures as badges of honor. I take them and I utilize them as seeds to kind of take 2 steps back, see what's going on, see what I did wrong, learn from that, and then takes 10 steps forward. A lot of people, they take failure as I should get out of this. Maybe I'm not cut out for it. You really need to kind of learn, you know what I mean? Learn from your mistakes and continue to build and move forward.
And
so
you have to believe too in your vision, right? Of what it is that you want to accomplish. And you have to be tenacious about that, right? And so everybody's going to have setbacks. The question, are you building something for yourself and your family and your team, or are you building something for somebody else, right? And, and either way, I mean, it can work out, but I think the entrepreneur likes the idea of building something for themselves.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, if you don't believe in yourself, who the hell else is going to believe in you? That's first and foremost. Second of all, my biggest thing is and yes, I worked for other people. I did the 9 to 5. I worked corporate positions. You guys are in New Jersey. I'm here on the island in New York. I worked for Newsday. I was high up in sales and marketing while I was wrestling. Okay, at the very beginning, I worked for the Village Voice. Again, high up in sales and marketing, and and that was while I was still in music. I mean, so my biggest problem was that I'm doing the lion's share of the work, but they're getting the lion's portion of the money and the accolades. So I made a cognizant decision years ago where I said, you know what, it's either all or nothing, and I decided I'm just going to go for it. And that's what I did. I just stopped doing everything. And then it was just Brimstone all the time. And that's my business. I'm Brimstone 24/7. I've never been happier. And I've built businesses along the way, because entertainment is peaks and valleys. People don't understand that, your career can go up and down. So people need to understand that and prepare for that. So the one thing that I've always done is I've made sure to build businesses around my brand. I put out from a ton of different products that are all branded under the Brimstone brand, that are in all different areas, not just in entertainment, but in just everyday life. You don't necessarily need to know that it's me, like me, the person behind it. As long as you like the product, I'm happy, because I'm still putting dollars in my pocket. That makes sense.
Brimstone, that was one thing I wanted to ask you about. Well, there are a couple things that it looks like you've done a number of different things. So you maybe go in and out of things, but the one I'm the most interested in asking you about, because I've never heard of this before, is you were a horror model. What is that?
So, okay. So, I'm especially with the Brimstone, persona, again, I'm just a regular guy, just like everybody else. But I have the long hair, the beard, the earrings, and I'm a big dude. So what do you call it? A lot of the time, like I'm pulled in, and I've done horror stuff before. So I'm kind of dragged into the horror scene, which is cool. It's fine with me. And what do you call it? Since I have a good name behind me, I've been asked to do, different shoots for many different things, horror. So I've been the subject of many different photo shoots, which are horror based photo shoots. And, they've been utilized for, everywhere from uh, displays, in Trump Towers, and other places all around the country. And yeah, the things have sold for big money. I didn't get that money, but somebody got that money. And at the end of the day, it's been an interesting little tidbit, which I don't normally talk about. So thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, well, it's very funny. But just going back to one other thing that you mentioned, which I thought, is your diversification intentional?
Yes.
At Gearhart Law, we never wanted to be dependent on one or two particular clients or one or two particular markets. And sometimes one part of the practice is doing well, the other part of the practice is slowing down, then something changes, but it's always kind of given us sort of a sense of safety, knowing that if we lose a client for whatever reason, then we've still got another literally 3,000 to fall back on, right?
The way I look at it. The way I look at it is very similar. In terms of what I do, think of it as advertising. All right, you have your clients; those are these are the people that are, these are the meat and potatoes are the ones that are going to be making sure that you are always going to survive. You know what I'm saying? You have your big guys, but they come every once in a while. You know what I mean? Every so often you'll hit a big deal and you go, all right, I got that $250,000 from this one, or I got 30 grand from that one. But then you've got the smaller dudes that are paying 5 grand, 10 grand, whatever, and so forth to advertise with whatever you're talking. I'm just, coming up with something here. But, at the end of the day, you're talking about, these are your meat and potatoes. So it's always good to continuously add on. So the same thing with me, like I said, up and down, peaks and valleys. So, my sauces and seasonings, that line, is always doing well. I know I can always count on that bringing in cash. The Grindhouse Radio, I know I can always count on Grindhouse bringing in cash. Same thing with what do you call it? Hound Comics, Hound Comics Inc. I know that's always going to bring in cash. I don't even have to touch it and it brings in cash. The fact is that then I'll scoot out here and I'll go, well, let's try this. Let's do this cologne line, see if that works. Let's throw this out here, do the coffee line, see if that works, see what happens, because that's just a little bit extra. And just in case, even if that doesn't work, I've still got, everything else kind of going on and set in place. So I'm in a good position. And yes, everything is intentional. Some things I've fallen into, I will admit, some things I've fallen into. But other things are intentional. Look, and they all interconnect as well. I do the radio. What's the next, possible progression from radio? Voice work, voice acting. I do a tremendous amount of voice work and acting. I also do on screen. So there's everything kind of interacts and engages with each other. My from wrestling, when I was looking to get out of the ring, I said, look, I was getting up there. I go, I don't want to be in my 50s and 60s and still bumping around in a ring. I want to be, able to kind of take what I've built and go and move with it. What's the next natural progression of professional wrestling?
And Brimstone, I want to squeeze another question in here real quick.
Sure.
For entrepreneurs especially. So when Richard started Gearhart Law, I helped him and I do marketing. We had no business background. We had worked in businesses. Richard had been on business teams. And so we're self-taught for business. Are you self-taught? Like, what would you tell an entrepreneur to go get an MBA? Would you tell him to take entrepreneurial classes? Like, how did you become so astute as a business person?
I started my first business at 17, and I learned a lot. I paid attention to what my father did, what my mother did. They were both entrepreneurs, what my stepmother did, and then, like I said, working 4 major corporations. I learned a lot, and then I utilized that in everything that I was doing moving forward. In music, I learned how to guerrilla market. I knew how to use a microfiche and figure out territories, figure out where I could go. I mean, there's so many things that I've learned along the way. So should people go to school? Absolutely. But there's nothing like real world, experience, and also mentorship. I mean, I love the fact that I've been able to mentor a lot of people in the creative space and had them become very successful. It's very rare that you can make that connection and help people kind of get out there and do their thing. I would suggest getting a mentor. I always think that there are certain areas that you can't necessarily know about, like legal. I know a lot of legal simply for being around for so long. But if I don't have somebody like a Richard or an Elizabeth, by my side, I can't possibly know everything, because that's not my expertise. So it's good to learn and build by getting mentors, speaking with people that are doing what you're looking to do, and also learning from your past, learning from the mistakes, learning from your wins. I hope I'm making sense.
Excellent. Yes, I know Kenya is probably dying to ask you something.
Yeah, I just heard you have so many different business models, and it sounds like they're all tied to things that you like, right? So with the comic book stuff. So what advice would you give to someone or anybody who's looking to turn an area of interest that is important to them or a passion project into, a lucrative business model?
Well, first and foremost, I like to make sure that everybody knows, don't think of anything as a hobby. When you think of it as a hobby, that's all it's going to be. Once you get into, if you're going to get into something, understand this is a business. When you first start off, this is a business. Even if it's baby steps, it's a business. So you got to treat it like that. I say if it's something that you're really passionate about and you really want to get something out there, bring a product to market, write a book, whatever it may be. You've got to be ready to and prepared to put in 200%. If you're not ready to put in 200%, just take a step back, because if you're not doing it, it's not going to go anywhere, because nobody else is going to do it for you. That's first and foremost. 2, have yourself a plan. You know what I mean? People really poo-poo a lot on putting together a business plan, especially small businesses. A business plan, is going to help you tremendously, and it's going to help you kind of figure out the path that you need to take in order to build that business into a success. I hope I'm answering your question properly, Kenny.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Business plan forces you to, especially with the financials, you got to sit down and think through, how are we going to make money? What's the leverage? What market are we going to target? And I think you need to have answers to many of those questions to at least get started. So I can't.
And I hate writing business plans. I hate it. It's one of I despise writing them. But at the end of the day, it's very, very important. I mean, the Grindhouse Radio business plan is thick, and it continues to evolve. You know what I mean, over the years. So, when I say write a business plan, it doesn't have to be super, in detail, but it's going to help you. So the more detail you do put in, the more time you put into it, the more research, the better off you're going to be, and the more it will help you, because you're utilizing it as a tool, not just for yourself, for your business, and for the potential of getting investors, being able to go and get loans, whatever it may be, to help take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you'll hear about my startup a little bit later, but Richard sits on a couple of investor groups, or is in a couple of investor groups, one in Westchester, one here in New York, and one here in New Jersey. And, I'm building my business to sell it. And the first thing he says is, well, if you ever want to sell this business, you better build it for an investor. So this is what investors want. And that has to go into the business plan, and it really focuses you, right?
And so I think entrepreneurism, business, it's a mind challenge. It's a mind game. You have to figure out solutions lots of times without all the information. And so anything that you can do to help promote the kind of the vision of the business is going to help you. So one thing is doing a business plan. Another piece is, strangely, intellectual property, because a lot of people are concerned about starting a project and putting it out there in the public without really having the resources to protect against somebody else taking the idea. So, and sometimes that's a realistic fear, sometimes it's not, but at least having the intellectual property on file frees them up now to go out and start talking with people about their project. And that helps promote them. So it serves the purpose of protecting it in a legal sense, but also freeing them up to pursue it fully. So those are all tools that the entrepreneur needs to be aware of, and in order to help, help them succeed. So,
absolutely, I agree with you 100%. I mean, trademarks are huge. You need to protect your IP. It's very, very important. I can't tell you how many people I've seen try to get into any of the industries, and they're excited, and they put all this time and this effort and this money into building they like a new sauce, like a new hot sauce, and they go, oh man, this is gonna be the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody's gonna buy it, and they have this name, and they spend lots of money on artwork and so forth, and then they go and they put it out, and then all of a sudden, well, you need to do a recall because somebody else owned that name because you didn't do Google or a trademark search. And now they're coming at you, and now you're losing hand over fist, money. And that, and now you have to start from square one,
And so one of the purposes of our show is to promote IP awareness so that things like that don't happen to people. And IP is a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle, but we want to make sure that people don't make those kinds of mistakes because we see it all the time.
Right. And trademark searches are tricky because I'm not an attorney, so I'm not speaking from a legal sense, but even if the name is close to yours or is highly recognized, like if somebody wanted to do Brimstone and you have Brimstone, I don't think they could get it, right? Because it'd be
tough.
Close.
Yeah, it'd be
so you
it's
can't.
Close.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what's close too. So that's why you need somebody who knows what they're doing to help you with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what are the barriers to entry, right? And so it may be that your brand is already so big that nobody can get in. Just pure practicality. It may be you need some legal help. It really depends on the situation. But the goal is, go ahead.
No, and it's funny because a lot of people write Brimstone, and it's hilarious because I'm like, it's very simple name to write. It's really simple. It's not hard. But yeah, so it's funny. And there have been, again, over the years, with social media and so forth, you've got people that, they try to pretend to be me. And I don't write on any other message boards or anything other than my official social media and my official website. And that is it. So, it's funny because there's so many, gimmick, fake sites that come up with Brimstone and so forth. And, you got to go after them. You know what I mean? You have to go after them because, that's.
So I want to just clarify this then. So your website is therealbrimstone.com. Right. Is that your social media as well?
So what do you call it? Back when I first went to get the social media handles, because I'm an old school guy. So when I was first, taking on the Brimstone name, I was just like, I don't need to have this right away. I don't need to have that right away. And then all of a sudden I needed it. And I go, oh my God. So yeah, I don't have the real Brimstone for everything. But the most important one, Instagram is what I use mostly. It's at The Real Brimstone. It's verified. It's me. What do you call it? That's one of the best places to find me. That aligns with my official website at, therealbrimstone.com. I've got Twitter at Entrance to Hell, which again, is just a gimmick, guys. It's just a gimmick. But that was one of the reasons, back when brimstone.com was taken, and I haven't been able to get that back since. It's before I knew. I had no idea. You're talking about well over 20 years ago. The internet was new. Who knew, and so I lost brimstone.com, and, somebody took the Brimstone name on Twitter. So at Entrance to Hell was my official website and my Twitter for the longest time. But since I rebranded, redid everything about a year and change ago, I switched everything over to therealbrimstone.com. It's just more professional in general. And since I'm not wrestling anymore, it made no sense. So, And again, on Facebook is just Brimstone. That's verified as well. So, it's me.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to wind down this segment and take a break.
But stay with us.
Stay with us.
So
it's
hanging.
It's been awesome talking with you. Absolutely. And you're listening to Passage to Profit, and we'll be right back after this.